ॐ सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां हयग्रीवमुपास्महे। ओम श्री हयग्रीवाय नमः। ओम श्री वल्लभा समेत श्री महागणाधिपतये नमः। We were on the topic of ahankArasya ajAna-Ashrayatvam, samvidah ajAna-vishayatvam cha. Ahankara is the ashraya for ajnana. Samvit is the ajnana vishaya. Of course, this is one of the views. The other view is that samvit itself is also in one way the ashraya for ahankara itself, correct? Because ahankara also is ajnana karya, we say. So if you take the ajnanam like that, then in fact ignorance itself can be there only for a conscious entity. Therefore, we say that samvit itself can be the ashraya also. That is the other view. Whichever is the view, what we say is the Swarupa Jnana is not opposed to Ajnanam, but the Vrittik Jnanam is the one which is opposed to Ajnana. The Vrittik Jnanam itself is what we say is it is Antakarana or Vritti Upahita Chaitanya. Correct? What we call as Vrittik Jnanam is Vritti Upahita Chaitanya. Now the Vritti itself is Jada. So a Jada Vritti cannot destroy the Ajnanam. And Chaitanyam by itself also, we already said, is not a Virodhi for Ajnanam. That's why Ajnana can have an Ashraya. So then how can Vritti Upahita Chaitanyam become the Nashaka of Ajnana? This is the question, correct? How can it destroy? Means there are two answers are given, two types. One is that the objection being, how can Karya destroy its Karana? Because if you say the Mula Jnanam is the Karana and the Manovritti, Manas itself is a Ajnana Karya and Manovritti also is nothing but a Manovikara, correct? So that being the case, how can it destroy its Karana, which is Ajnanam? We say that it is like Arani Mathanam, even though the fire comes from the rubbing of two wood, that fire itself can burn the wood. This is one answer given. Or the other answer given is what? Even though individually these two are not opposed to each other, that is the Vritti itself being Jada cannot oppose Ajnanam. Chaitanyam also is not opposed to anything. Still the Pratibimba, correct, or the Abhasa, which is the Upahita Chaitanya, correct, can be the Nashaka, destroyer of Ajnanam. It is like the sunlight by itself cannot burn the grass, but when it goes through the lens, correct, or through the mirror, it can burn the grass. Okay. So this also is given as a analogy here. So up to this we saw, correct. So here you can see here, Tasmad Vrittik Jnanameva Jnana Virodhi iti Kritva Atma Swarupa Jnanasya Ajana-Ashrayatvam Yujyate eva. So even if you say that Atma Swarupa Jnana itself is the Ajana-Ashraya, which is the position of Sureshwaracharya and even the Vivaranacharya. Okay, so we generally follow the Vivarana Sampradaya, and in that we accept that Brahman or Chaitanyam itself is both the Vishaya and Ashraya for Ajnana. and there is no problem in this. Yujyate eva, it is proper. Okay, once we say this, now the Purva Pakshi is coming. He is saying, Nanu ghata drashtari purushe ghatasya iva ajnana sakshini atmani ajnanasya sthitihi na sambhavati iti chet ma evam. Okay, he's saying ghata drashtari purusha. In the person who is seeing the ghata is not there, correct? Similarly, the one who is the sakshi of the ajnanam, okay, cannot, in that person, that sakshini, correct, which is atma itself, ajnana cannot be there, he is saying. If you are seeing something, it cannot be there in you. Like this, they are making an argument here, okay? So ajnanasya sthitihi atmani na sambhavati. Okay, once we say this, once this kind of objection is raised, first our author is just pointing the finger to the Purva Pakshi. He is saying, Tava mate anandadi drashtari atmani anandadi sattvat. So you also say that this ananda is there in Atma. In fact, they say that ananda is a visheshana of Atma, but also Atma is the one which sees the Ananda also, which experiences the Ananda. So in your mata also you are saying this. So why are you now pointing the finger at me? Even after we say this, what now? It is as though he is saying, okay, forget what I say. How are you going to answer this question? So he is further asking, Nacha, tava mate katham upapattihi iti vachyam. Okay, tava mate katham upapattihi he is asking still. So how are you going to explain this? How are you going to make it meaningful? Okay, tenable means you cannot ask. Why? Because we now ask a question. Kim tvam vastutaha atmanaha ajana-ashrayatvam na sambhavati iti vadasi yadva vyavaharataha. So this is our Brahmastra always, correct? Vastutaha or vyavaharataha. Okay. Now, if you say vastutaha ajana-ashrayatvam na sambhavati, that is desirable for us. Okay, so he is saying adye ishtaha eva. So the first option is our desired option only, because we say ajnana is not even there really. So what to talk about ashrayatvam of something which is not even there. Okay. So nahi vastutaha ajnanam asti. So ajnana is not there in reality. Therefore what yena tad ashrayatvam atmanaha bhavet. So because of which you can say there is an ashrayatvam, etc. The vastu itself not being there, you cannot talk about ashrayatvam. So it is like saying, even though you saw the snake on the rope, and you can say from an ajnana drishti, you can say snake has the rope as the ashraya. But from the rope standpoint, there never was any snake. So what are you talking about? There is no snake ashrayatvam or anything in the rope. Okay. In reality, there is no ashrayatvam of snake on the rope. Similarly, here also we have to say, this is ishta. We are very happy. Yes, Atma is not an ashraya for ajnanam. Okay, what about the other one? Vyavaharataha. Also, if you say means what? Nad dvitiyaha. But the second one, if you say, we can't accept. Why? Yavad vyavaharam atmanaha jnana ashrayatva sambhava. So, till the time the vyavahara is there, the atma is the ajnana ashraya also. It is there. Okay. Because it is all kalpita anyway, correct? So, kalpita you have to accept. From the standpoint of the seer of the snake, you have to say that rope is the ashraya for snake, correct? There is nothing wrong in that. So, in fact, he even says further what he says, Atmanihi jnananandadivat ajnanamapi kalpitam vyavahara. So, from the, you are using kalpita attributes on the Atma to reveal it, correct? So, similarly, you have to have kalpita ajnanam, otherwise there cannot be any vyavaharata, correct? Without the kalpita ajnana, the pramana vyavahara, correct? Pramatra, pramana, prameya, itself is due to ajnana, then only any vyavahara is possible. So otherwise, the vyavahara itself is not possible. Vyavahara anupapatti will be there. Therefore, what tasmad atma na jnana ashrayah napi ajnana ashrayah vyavahar jnana-ashrayah api bhavati iti. Okay, finally summarizing what? In reality, Atma is neither jnana-ashrayah napi ajnana-ashrayah. Okay, because jnana-ashrayah it cannot be because it is jnana-swarupa, correct? It itself being jnana, it cannot be having further a jnana as a visheshana or any kind of, it cannot become an ashraya for jnana, it itself being jnana. And it is in reality, as there is no ajnanam itself, therefore it cannot be ajnana-ashraya also. That is the paramarthika drishti. But in vyavahara, what do we say? Vyavaharastu swataha ajnana ashraya. So it itself is the ashraya of ajnanam. Okay. And also whatever is adhyastha on it, the antakarana, correct? Swa adhyastha antakarana dwara. It also becomes jnana ashraya. Okay. Jnana ashraya api bhavati. And this here, this is what we call vritti jnana, correct? The jnanam which manifests in the manovritti. So these two things we have to accept. So therefore, what etena jnatr bhava vishaya bhava rahite jnana matre sakshini na ajnana sambhavaha iti parastham. So from this, what do we say? In reality, Atma is neither jnatr, neither it is the knower, nor it is a vishaya or known. Correct? Vishaya bhava also is not there. It is just knowledge or consciousness by itself. Okay, in that, okay, when it becomes the witness sakshi, okay, jnana matre sakshini, ajnana cannot be there, you cannot say. Ajnana can be there because the sakshi chaitanya is not opposed to the ajnanam. That is what we have established. Iti parastam. Whatever you raised objections with reference to this, they are all negated. They are all gone. Okay. Then what? Jnana matre tad asambhavepi sakshini tad sambhavat. Okay. Further, what we say is only chaitanyam cannot be the ajnana ashraya, etc. Like we said already from the paramarthika drishti. But as soon as you say sakshi, sakshi itself is there only due to ajnana. Understand that. Ajnana upahita chaitanya only we say is sakshi. Because sakshi, the status is dependent on sakshya, that which is witnessed, correct? As soon as you talk about a witnessing consciousness also, that is also assuming some vyavahara. Therefore, it is all in the realm of ignorance or ajnana only. Therefore, this is possible for the sakshi. Okay, that's what he's saying. Sakshi hi ajnana avachinna chaitanya rupaha. So sakshi itself is basically ajnana avachinna chaitanya only. Shuddha chaitanyasya advitiyattvena sakshitva yoga. So Shuddha Chaitanya is Advitiya, it is non dual. So it cannot even be witness of anything. There is nothing else to be even witnessed. Kena kam pashyet, kena kam vijaniyat, and all we can understand it. Correct? It comes in the Upanishad also. So therefore, what do we say? Ajnana upahita chaitanyasya cha ajana-ashrayatvam yuktam. So the ajnana upahita chaitanya alone as the ajana-ashrayatva also, and this is proper. There is no problem in that. And ajnana-vashadev cha Vishaya bhavaha api asti sakshinaha, and due to ajnana alone, the sakshi, the Vishaya bhavaha also is there for the Chaitanya. So the Vishaya also is Vishaya avachinna Chaitanya basically. Okay. It's all due to ajnana. Therefore, ajnana upahitasya eva ahankara upadyantara vashat jnatru bhavaha api bhavati. Okay. The third thing is what? Who is the jnata then? Okay. Chaitanyam itself is having it is the sakshi, it is having vishaya bhava, means the pramatra also is really this ahankara only, correct? With the ahankara with the upahita chaitanya. Ahankara upahita chaitanya only is the pramatra. And so ahankara is the upadhi for that. And nyatru bhava also one gets. Tasmad what? Ajnana-Ashrayatvam sakshinaha uchitameva. So finally we say what? The Sakshi itself can be the Sakshi Chaitanyam itself can be the Ajnana Ashraya also. It is proper. There is no problem. Okay, once we say this, Ramanuja has raised an objection, so he is taking it up. Nanu swa avachinnam chaitanyam swam ajnanam katham ashrayet. Okay, the question is what? The Chaitanyam, okay, which is conditioned by the ajnana, correct? One's own ajnana. How can it be the ashraya for that? Is the question. Because Atma Ashraya dosha will come, he say. Atma Ashraya dosha prasangat. Ajnana Ashrayat. Ashrayanat. Prag. Ajnana avachinna chaitanyasya. Eva bhavacha. And further what they are saying? The Ajnana Ashraya. Ashrayanat prag. So before the Ajnana becomes Ashrita in the Chaitanyam, there is no avachinna chaitanya also. Correct? The avachinnatvam comes along with the upadhi only. When the upadhi is not there, the upadhi avachinna chaitanya also is not there. Okay. And the upadhi avachinna chaitanya, how can it be the ashraya for that upadhi itself is the question. It will be like a atmashraya dosha is saying. Means we say it's not like that. Ma evam. Why? Ajnanasya tad ashrayanasya tad avachedasya cha anaditvena ajnana ashrayanat prag iti vaktum ashakyatvat. So first we are addressing this prag issue. See, ajnana and it becoming supported or being like the Chaitanyam being the locus of ajnanam, etc. Ashrayana, and Chaitanyam being conditioned by that itself, correct? All these things, what we say, they don't have any starting point and all that. Okay. But even if I ask you about any ajnanam, also if I ask you when did this ajnanam start, you have to say it did not start anytime, correct? It is always there. Ajnana is like that. So it is all anadi. Therefore, you cannot ask what was there before it and all that. That question is not relevant or valid. That cannot be talked about. Further, what? Ajnanam swa avachinna chaitanyam eva ashritavataha natu swam iti atma ashraya bhavacha. Further, what do we say? This ajnana is having its locus as the swa avachinna chaitanyam. The chaitanya which is conditioned by this ajnanam is the ashraya for ajnanam. Therefore, there is no atma ashraya dosha here. It's not that ajnana is having itself as the ashraya. It is having the swa avachinna chaitanya as the ashraya. Therefore, atma ashraya dosha also is not there. So, how are you even talking about atma ashraya dosha? So, that is also not true. But further, what do you say? Vastu tastu chaitanyasya ajnana avachinnatvam eva ajana-Ashrayatvam. So what do we really say is what? This avachinnatvam only is the ashrayatvam also. The Chaitanya, which is being conditioned by the ajnana, that alone we are also talking about as the, therefore the ajnana becomes the locus for that Chaitanya. Whatever Chaitanya it conditions, that itself becomes its locus. So the ashrayatvam and avachinnatvam are one and the same for us here. That's how we explain that. Further, what? Tacha ajnana, avachinnatvam, anadi, but it is anadi. This avachinnatvam, when did it start? If you ask, means it is anadi, it never started. Therefore, what? Tatascha, ajnana avachedat, prak chaitanyam shuddhamiti vaktum na shakyate. The other point is what? Only before this ajnana avachedakam, this Chaitanyam is Shuddham, because once it has become ajnana avachedaka, it is conditioned by the ajnana or limited by the ajnana, qualified by the ajnana, means what? It is no more Shuddha Chaitanya. In fact, that it is no more Shuddham also is not real. Correct? That is the whole point. Atma, when we say Atma is Shuddha, it is not like it becomes dirty and then you purify it or anything. It can never be tainted. That is the meaning of Shuddha Chaitanyam, really. But anyway, so you cannot say that only before this Ajnana Avachedaka, Atma was Shuddha, now it has become Ashuddha, means no, in reality, there is no Ashuddham or anything on Atma. Shuddha Chaitanyam is always Shuddha Chaitanyam only. So, therefore, what he is saying, Vaktum na shakyate yena Shuddha Chaitanye katam Ajnana Sambhavaha iti chodyeta. Okay, so further you cannot also ask the question, how did this Ajnana come about in the Shuddha Chaitanya? It never started anyway. Therefore, being Anadi, even this question is not proper. Or the other way around, what do we say? From the standpoint of Shuddha Chaitanyam, there is no Ajnanam at all. So you cannot ask when did it start. That also we can say. Therefore, what? Evam Anadi Chaitanya Avachedakam Anadi api Ajnanam Brahmatma Jnanat Nivartate eva. But okay, once we say Ajnana is Anadi, what is the problem? They immediately say that which is Anadi is Ananta. The beginningless cannot come to an end. This is what they say. But for this, what is the pramanam we give? Shruti is the pramana. Smriti is there. Correct? So, jnanena tu tadajnanam yesham nashitam and all. Bhagavan also says in the Gita. Here he is actually quoting another Smriti. Abhidyate hridaya grantihi chidyante sarva samshayaha and all that is there. Correct? Even the Upanishad is there. So, in many places, the Ajnana Nivritti is talked about. Here the Vishnu Purana is quoted. So Tarati Atma Vidyam, Tarati Avidyam Vitatam Ityadi Shastra Pramanya. So this is Vishnu Purana. This is quoted in the Vedanta Paribhasha also. This Tarati Avidyam Vitatam. So this Avidya, one crosses over, one destroys this Avidya, it comes to an end. Even though it is Anadi, the Shastra Pramana is there to understand that it can come to an end. Okay, even the other, what is the other thing we say? Paramate api anadi pragabhavasya nasha abhyubhagamacha. Okay, if you raise a question on this, you also accept that pragabhava comes to an end. Of course, then they will say, no, abhava is, abhava is not really a bhava padartha, correct? We also say ajnana is not a real thing, correct? It is neither bhava nor abhava. That's what we say. So even otherwise also, even if you say pragabhava and all that, pragabhava also we don't accept it as a real abhava. Okay, and even the Nayayikas mean it as some kind of a padartha. So as long as the abhava is having a visheshana, it is bhava rupa only we have to say. Okay, bhava rupa means another thing we have to understand. Rupa means bhava vat is the meaning really. Bhava rupa means some people think that it is something. Rupa means something real and all that. No, Smriti Rupaha, like that also it is said for the in the Adhyasa Bhashya also, Bhashyakara uses the word Smriti Rupaha, means Smriti Sadrishaha. The meaning is, it is like Smriti. So similarly, Bhava Rupaha means it is like Bhava. It is not real Bhava. Only Bhava Vastu is Brahman, correct? So when we say Bhava Rupa, it is Bhava Sadrishaha, or it is like as though Bhava. That is the main thing. Therefore, it can come to an end. It's not a problem. It may not have started, but it can come to an end because it is not there really anyway. So, tasmat, what we say, yavat vyavaharam ajnana avachinnameva chaitanyamiti kritva chaitanya ashritam eva ajnanamiti sankshepaha. So, what is the summary finally? The sankshepa. See, till the time the vyavahara is there. Yavat vyavaharam ajnana avachinnameva chaitanyam. Chaitanya is conditioned by this ajnanam till the time there is vyavahara. Even the witness consciousness, as we said, The status of being witness itself is really because of conditioning of the ignorance only, and that ignorance also has to have the Chaitanyam itself as the Ashraya, also as the locus. There is no problem in this. This is the Siddhanta. Okay, further what nanu samvidah ajAna-Ashrayatva abhyubhagamepi atmataya abhyubhagatayaha tasya ajnana-vishayatva abhavena jnanena na tad ajnana-nivrittihi jnanam hi swavishaya eva ajnanam nivartayati yatha rajvado atah na kenapi kadachit samvidashrayam ajnanam uchchidyeta iti Ramanujaha. Okay, so Ramanuja is again raising another issue here. What he is saying is this samvid, even if you accept that samvid is the ashraya, ajnana-ashraya, okay, but in their idea, if you say Atma is jnanam, correct? It being jnanam, it cannot be jnana ashraya, but we will concede that it can be ajnana ashraya. Okay. But even then, what he is saying is Atma cannot become jnana vishaya also. Because Atma is jnanam itself. Being jnana swarupa, it cannot become jnana vishaya. So that's what he is saying. Atmataya abhyubhagatayaha tasya ajnana vishayatva abhavena. So if it cannot become jnana vishaya, it cannot become ajnana vishaya also. It can be ajnana ashraya. What now they are raising the objection is samvit can be ajnana ashraya, but it cannot be ajnana vishaya. That is because it cannot also be jnana vishaya, being jnana swarupa. Okay. Therefore, if it is not an ajnana vishaya, then how will it be destroyed? Because jnana destroys ajnana, only when that jnana vishayatvam has to be there for that. For example, the ghata ajnanam is destroyed by ghata jnanam, correct? That means there ghata is the vishaya for both ajnanam and jnanam. But here, Atma, even though it is ajnana ashraya, it cannot be the jnana vishaya and also ajnana vishaya. And therefore, whatever the ajnana which is ashrita in the Atma, it can never be destroyed because there is no corresponding Atma jnanam possible, because Atma itself is avishaya, aprameya, and all that also we say, correct? Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasasaha, and all that is there. So how are you going to have any jnanam which can destroy this ajnanam which is sitting on this samvit? That is the question here. So ajnana vishayatva abhavena jnanena tad ajnana nivrittihi na. So the ajnana nivritti cannot be there due to any jnanam. Why? Because jnanam hi swa vishaya eva ajnanam nivartayati. So a jnana can only destroy or remove ajnanam where the vishaya is the same, correct? There has to be same vishaya. The ajnana vishaya and jnana vishaya has to be the same. Then it can remove it. For example, even the rope ajnanam is there, means then with rope jnanam, the rope ajnanam is gone, correct? Yatha rajvadav. Therefore, what ataha na kenapi kadachit samvid ashrayam ajnanam uchchidyeta. Therefore, by anybody, what if you say that this ajnana is ashrita in the samvid, that can never be removed by anybody, because there is no samvid vishaya jnanam is not possible. Means if Ramanuja is saying that, therefore, but ma evam, it's not like that. Why? Jnana-Ashrayatvam eva asmabhihi samvidah nirakritam natu jnana-vishayatvam. So what we are saying is, jnana-ashrayatva is not possible because jnana swarupa, it itself being jnanam, it cannot be ashraya for jnanam again, correct? That will be jnana atma-ashraya dosha. So jnana-ashrayatvam we don't accept, but jnana-vishayatvam we accept. Okay, jnana-vishayatvam is there. And in fact, we have already discussed this, correct? He is saying samvid vishaya ahankArasya antakarana vrittihi asmabhihi abhyupeta. So we have already accepted that there is ahankara vritti, and that is samvid vishaya only. This ahankara, when we say there is no khanda, Correct? So this is samvid vishaya only. The mind takes the form of the samvid, because mind is, that's what the mind, the purified mind, and being sattva guna pradhana, it has this capability. And jnanam itself is only manovritti. This Bhashyakara also is clear, and even the Upanishads are talking about, correct? Manasa eva anudrashtavyam, manasa eva aptavyam, and all the vakyas are there. So the mind which is prepared by the Shastra and Guru Upadesha, and also which is already mature enough, correct? Emotional maturity, intellectual maturity, everything is there. Such a mind has the ability to have this jnanam itself as the Vishaya in the form of ahankArasya vritti. Therefore, this we have accepted. Therefore, what tathacha ghata anashritena घट विषयेन ज्ञानेन यथा घट अज्ञान निवृत्तिः तथा संविद अनाश्रितेनापि संविद विषयेन ज्ञानेन संविद अज्ञान निवृत्तिः इति. Okay, further what we say is, even with reference to ghata, if you take, okay, the jnana is not there in the ghata, correct? Jnana takes place in the pramatra, in the knower. So the jnana which is not having ghata as the ashraya, by that the ghata ajnana nivritti is happening, okay, because there also ghata ajnana also, it is only ghata vishayaka ajnana. When we say ghata ajnana, even ajnana also has ashraya only in the pramata, correct? The knower only can be ignorant. So both ghata ajnanam and ghata vishaya are not ghata, they are not in ghata basically, okay. Similarly, here also what tata samvid anashritenapi samvid vishayena jnanena. So the samvid vishaya jnana is not samvid ashrita. In fact, it is basically ahankArasya, we have to say, correct? So it is vritti jnanam basically. So even though if it is not samvid ashrita, but it can destroy the samvid ajnanam, because even the ghata jnanam is not ghata ashrita. Similarly, here also it is possible. Therefore, what evam atma bhutayaha api samvidah ajnana vishayatvam aham atmanam janami. Sorry, it is okay. Here it is printed like this, and it is confusing. Okay, evam atma bhutayaha api samvidah ajnana vishayatve na aham atmanam janami iti anubhava pramanam. Okay, so you have to break it here. Here it is continuous, means it can be vishayatvena. If you read it, then it becomes aham atmanam janami. No, it is actually vishayatve na aham atmanam janami iti anubhavaha pramanam. So what he is saying is, even though you say that ajnana is not possible, atma cannot be ajnana vishaya and all that, but all ajnanis have this na atmanam aham janami, correct? The fact that if you ask, are you Brahman? Everybody says, no, I am not Brahman. That itself is good enough. Means you have not known yourself correctly. So there is a Atma Vishaya Ajnana is there. So na aham atmanam janami iti anubhavaha itself is the pramana. You don't need anything more. And further what? Jnanena tad ajnana nivruttaucha aham brahmasmi iti anubhavaha pramana. So similarly what? The jnani knows, correct? Jnanena tad ajnana nivruttau aham brahmasmi iti anubhava is there. That is the vidvad anubhava. Vidvad anubhava is the pramanam for the atma jnanam. Therefore, atma jnanam both have there is avidvad anubhava and vidvad anubhava themselves are pramana for that. You cannot question that. So, what we say, pratamaha sarvaloka sadharanaha. Okay, ajnana is sarvaloka sadharana. We say everybody, it is common. Naisargika loka vyavaharaha. That's what Bhashyakara says. But dvitiyastu brahmavidaha sadharanaha iti vedyam iti. So, but the second one is only for the Vidvat Anubhava, correct? It is only for the Brahmavit, and Brahmavits are very rare. But still we have to say that it is their Anubhava. Okay. Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaye yatatanam api siddhanam kaschin mam veti sarveshaha, like that Bhagavan says even in the Gita, correct? So only few people even make an effort to know this Atma, and even fewer actually know that. Okay. Now, again further what? Nanu evam sati ekasya eva brahmavidaha jnanena samvid ajnanasya nivrittatvat samvidascha घटाधिवत घटाधिवत अनेकत्वा अनेकत्वाभावात् सर्वस्यापि प्रमातृ वर्गस्य लोकशब्द अभिधेयस्य निर्यत्नमेव आत्मसाक्षात्कारात् मुक्तिः स्यात् न च इष्टापत्तिः. Okay, now another point is raised. They are saying, you are saying there is ajnana, which is actually atma-ashraya. If that is the case, if one person knows this Brahman, ekasya eva brahmavidaha jnanena samvidah ajnanasya nivritatvat, the ajnana on the samvid will go away, because there is only one samvid on which one ajnanam is ashrita. If that ajnana is gone, when one brahmavid knows, then what? Everybody also will become jnani. At least in the case of ghata, you have many ghatas, okay? But in the case of this ajnana, atma ajnana, there is only one atma and only one ajnana can be there. It cannot be like ghata where we have many ghatas and many ajnanas, many ghata ajnanas, correct? So he is saying ghatadivat anekatva abhavat. So here it is Vyatireka Drishtanta, you can say. Unlike ghata, here there is no anekatva. There is only eka ajnana in eka samvid or on eka samvid, and that is destroyed. When a Brahmavid knows, means Pramatru Vargasya Loka Shabda Abhidayasya. So those who are known as Loka in general, the people who are all knowers, for all of them, Niryat Yatnameva, without making any effort, Atma Sakshatkara has to happen, and then Mukti has to take place. So even if one person knows, everybody becomes Mukta. Of course, here also you have different ways of answering this. But he is saying it is not Ishtapatihi, it is not desirable for you. Okay. Shukadi Mukti Shravanat na idanim Jagad Upalambaha Bhavitumarhati. Yadi Shukadi Muktihi Arthavadaha Tarhi Samvit Sakshatkara Bhavat na Kasyapi Muktihi iti Muktyartham Vedanta Vicharaha Vyarthaha iti Ma Evam. Okay, further what the Purupakshi is saying, if see Shuka became a Mukta Purusha, like that we hear, correct, in Bhagavatam, in even otherwise in other Puranas. So you hear that Shuka become a Mukta, but because of that nobody has become, everybody in the Jagat now are not Jnani, correct? Jagad Upalambaha Bhavitum Arhati. Or if according to whatever you say, then it should be that because Shuka also became Mukta, all of us right now should be Mukta, correct? But that is not case. Okay, if to take care of that, if you say no, Shuka Mukti and all is only Arthavada, it is to praise this Jnanam, it is talked about, means then what? Samvit Sakshatkara Abhavat na Kasyapi Muktihi. So even then what? Even Shuka himself did not get any Samvit Sakshatkara, it will become really. And now also nobody can get Mukta, can become a Mukta Purusha. Okay, no, now also nobody can get Moksha. Kasyapi Muktihi na. And therefore what? Mukti Artham Vedanta Vicharaha Vyarthaha. The Vedanta Vichara itself will become useless. So this is what they are saying. Iti chet ma evam. It is not so. Why? Tulyam idam chodyam gatadavapi. So this is similar to Gata Ajnanam and Gata Jnanam. You said that there are many ghatas. Forget many ghatas. Even one ghata, if Chaitra knows one ghata, Maitra cannot know the same ghata, correct? Unless the Maitra Ajnanam also goes. So what we say, even though Ajnanam is one, but Pramatras are many, and Ajnanam also is divided by the Pramatra Upadhi. Okay. So that's why one Pramata destroying the Ajnanam, it does not become destroyed for everybody else. It is similar to Ghata Ajnanam and Ghata Jnanam. So Eka eva Ghataha yada Chaitrena Drishtaha tada eva Ghata Avaraka Ajnana Nashat Maitra Dehe Sarvasyapi Lokasya Ghata Sakshatkara Prasanga. So if you, whatever you say, if in one locus, one avidya is gone with reference to one Vishaya, that avidya itself is gone for everybody, how can you say? If you say like this, then if Chaitra knows one Ghata, everybody else also should know that Ghata, it will become like that, correct? But that's not the case. Maitra and others in the Loka, their Ghata Sakshatkara does not happen just because Chaitra has had the Ghata Sakshatkara. Therefore, what? Tasmad Vishaya Abhedepi Pramatra Bedat Vishaya Avaraka Ajnana Bhedaha. So the Vishaya Avaraka Ajnana, even though there is only one Ajnanam, but the Vishaya Avaraka Ajnana is divided in each Pramatra. The Pramatra Bheda is there, and because of that, the Vishaya Avaraka Ajnana also is different, we have to say. It only, so when it goes away in one Pramata, it need not go away everywhere else. Okay. It is the Pramatra Bheda. Because of this, the Ajnana Bheda also we have to accept. Otherwise, even in Vyavahara, it will be a problem for you. Therefore, what? Tatha Sati, Chaitram Pati, Samvidavarakam Ajnanam, Chaitra Jnaneneva Nivartate, Natu Maitra Jnanene iti na Kaschid Doshaha. So, this being the case, what? The Samvidhavaraka, the Ajnana which is covering the Samvid for Chaitra, that alone will go away by the knowledge which Chaitra gains. Okay. And it only goes only by Chaitra gaining knowledge. If Maitra gains knowledge, it will not remove Chaitra's avarana. So each one has to have their own jnanam, which will remove the cover of ajnanam for them. Okay. So in this there is no dosha, and therefore what? Therefore what? Nacha evam ajnanasya ekatvat katam aneka ajnana siddhihi iti vachyam. Okay. Once we say this, what? You only said ajnana is one. Now, how you can say there are many ajnanas? Okay. You cannot ask why, because what do we say? Ekasyapi ajnanasya upadhika beda abhyubakamatiti. So here also we say what? There are upadhis are there. Each mind, this ajnana covers everybody's mind. But when the covering is removed in one mind, it is only removed in that mind. It need not be removed everywhere. That is the idea. So here also upadhika bheda we accept, and because of which we can say that there is there, even though one avidya is there or one ajnana, it can be there in many upadhis. Therefore, what? Yad atra uktam sudarshanena. And Sudarshanacharya also says one more thing. What? With reference to this, jnana nivartya ajana-Ashrayatve sati samvidah jnana-vishayatva prasangaha iti tad ishtameva. So Sudarshanacharya is saying this jnana, okay, which is again this jnana nivartya ajnana means what? The ajnana which is removed by this jnana, and that ajnana has the ashraya as the samvit means, then samvit will also be jnana vishaya. He is saying that he is giving as objection. Jnana vishayatva prasanga for samvit is given as an objection or as a dosha by Sudarshana, but we say that is ishta. We already talked about it, correct? Jnana vishayatvam can be there, even though jnana ashrayatvam cannot be there for samvit. So again here, but what is the jnana? When we say jnana vishayatvam, here also we make it differentiation. That's what he's saying. Nacha jnanatvena samvidah katam ajana-vishayatvam iti vachyam. So once we say it is ishta, then they are asking how can this be possible? Okay, samvid itself is jnana. Then how can it have jnana-vishayatvam? Means you cannot raise that. Why? Because swarupa jnanasya vritti jnana-vishayatvena adoshat. We say that swarupa jnana can be a vishaya for vritti jnana still. Only that what we say is it cannot be objectified. But that's why the vritti vyapti and phala vyapti are important. Vritti vyapti is still there because atma jnanam also is manovritti. But by that you are not objectifying the atma. Atma can never be objectified. You have to know it as your own swarupa, your own subject without getting objectified. That's why atma jnanam itself is very different, correct? The main difference between objective knowledge and atma jnanam is this. That's why it is subtle. It is more whatever we say, it is difficult to understand for people. Therefore, what nacha avishayasya atmanaha katam vishayatvam iti vachyam. Again, they are saying, even after we say this, what no, atma is avishaya, it cannot become vishaya even of a vritti jnanam. Means, what do we say? Okay, vastutaha avishayasya api atmanaha mayaya kalpitasya vishayattvasya sattvat. So finally, what do we say? There is no real vishayatva. Correct? In reality, Atma is not a Vishaya for anything, whether it is Jnana or Ajnana. It is all only Mayaya Kalpitaha. So, Nanirodho, Nachotpattihi, Nabaddho, Nacha Sadakaha. We say that. So, what is the problem? So, Ashrayatva, Vishayatva, Dharma Rahitepi, Brahmani, Maya hi sarvan dharman kalpayati yatha bhuta bhautikadini iti sankshepaha. So, like even everything else is also kalpita, correct? The Mahabhuta onwards, everything is kalpita in the Atma, and then the Bhautika world is there, the objective world, physical world, subtle world, everything is kalpita in Maya means. Similarly, this Ashrayatvam, Vishayatvam, etc. for Jnanam and Ajnanam, all of them are also only Maya kalpita in Brahman. In reality, it has none of these things. That is the reality, that is the Sankshepaha. So with this topic is over. ahankArasya swatmastha anubhuti abhivyanjakatva pratipadanam is the next topic. We will take it up in the next class. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
धन्यवाद।
Om.